it was a beer festival in a village pub in Surrey. A beautiful sunny day, and I'm leaving, and I looked over at the bar and I thought, it can't be. And it turned out that it was Roger Taylor's local. He lived just over the road. And I went over to him and I spoke to him and I explained that he'd just missed me sing, and he was devastated, of course.
Always the way.
Yeah. And in all seriousness, and he gave me this look as if to say, oh, yeah, I get this all the time. But in all seriousness, I said, if ever he needs a new singer for that band of his, then, if Paul Rodgers was having a sick day, check me out. And he just kind of like looked at me as if to say, yeah, all right, I've heard that before. Do you know who I've worked with? And it's, he was very polite. I'm not making out anything else than that. I would have probably reacted the same way if I was him. But unlike a lot of the jokers that have probably gone up to him and saying, I could be Freddie Mercury, I was not saying I could be that, but I was very serious, like, give me an audition.
So you were always very driven from the start, really, not one of these people who are like, oh yeah, I can do that and I think it's easy. Did you always know that this particular road was going to be difficult?
I until my mid-teens, I had these far-fetched ideas of being a professional footballer, and then the music thing came in, and I just became very much like, it became a one-way street. And the Roger Taylor story only dates back 3 years, but there was a genuine sense of belief, I guess, to sort of make me say such a thing, and without a trace of irony, which I think he assumed I must have been doing. But prior to actually having genuine confidence, I had the best substitute for that in my teenage years, which was arrogance.
Always the way.
There's a great Steven Tyler quote, which is, before you make it, you got to fake it. And that was just my sort of way of, I guess, showing a little bravado before I had the things that I wanted to have, that I could shine onto the world. And once I, that makes me sound like some sort of a cult leader, but maybe I am.
Ooh, well, we never know.
Cult of the personality, more like. But no, I then became, I genuinely love what I do. I mean, I have Magic 8 Ball tattoos, not to impress anyone, but because that is truly the love of my life. And I listen back to recordings that I do by myself and with Magic 8 Ball, and I'm genuinely proud of that. I'm really happy that my name is associated with this. And much like yourself, Sasha, you do a lot of great stuff, and at the end of the day, the tagline is made by Sasha Cooper, property of, and that's, and like this radio show and the whole Audio Burger network. I mean, it's just such a great thing to be a part of, because, like I said, much like us musicians, when you get fed up of what you're being fed through the big stations and the big bands, DIY, go your own way, cut out the middleman, and just bring the best of what you like to the people that you also like and respect.
Very true. And it actually brings to mind a very interesting phrase, actually, for self-employed people, and that is, if the work doesn't come to you, do it yourself. And in fact, Johnny Berger's just come up saying, okay, hire him, Sasha. So seriously though, actually, talking of the Audio Burger family, Pete Ringmaster, who's also one of our regular presenters, he had a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Do you like any good bands? Now, Pete comes from the whole realm of metal and alternative music, so he'd be very interested to hear in this answer.
Good bands. Well, if I like a band, that would suggest that I think they're good. I don't have guilty pleasures. People ask me, what's a guilty pleasure? That just means you're embarrassed by what you listen to, and I love what I listen to. And going off the sort of staying away from sort of solo artists and answering the question about bands. Right, let's throw some at you. Queen, Manic Street Preachers, Enough's Enough, Aerosmith. Did I say Guns N' Roses?
Not yet, you have now.
Nirvana, Everclear, Blind Melon, The Wild Hearts, Big Star, Raspberries, Jellyfish, Faith No More, Led Zeppelin, Thin Lizzy, Silverchair, Red Cross.
So all really a very big mixture of unsigned artists as well as some of the big names.
Yeah, a nice sort of melting pot, and then through to bands like the Candy Butchers, Teenage Fan Club, if I didn't mention them, Ben Folds 5, and as I explained to you before the show, I'm going through a Metallica fix at the moment. Marilyn Manson.
Oh yeah.
As we were again discussing before the show, and I'm probably leaving out Alice Cooper, which I say, I know it's you're gonna say a solo artist, but Alice Cooper the band, Soundgarden, and probably a million others I'm omitting from this list. Van Halen, Veruca Salt, Van Halen, not Van Hagar, I hasten to add. AC/DC, although more towards the Bon Scott era with that one. And you know, I'm going to get home later and I'm going to see all these CDs and go, why didn't I mention them?
But that's the whole thing. There's so many brilliant bands out there. I mean, it's really hard to choose from. And in fact, you've actually, funnily enough, mentioning Alice Cooper, you've actually reached out to at least 2 Alice Cooper fans, myself, and of course Carry On Karen here in the chat room. She adores Alice Cooper. Johnny's also got a bit of a question for you. Ask Baz about his robust stage performance. It is a delight to watch. Very, very entertaining. Can you please explain this one?
Much like you've stumped me there, Johnny.
My God, that's a first.
When you are brought up around showmen like Freddie Mercury and Steven Tyler and Axl Rose, you tend to have great role models to learn from or to attempt to learn from. And once I figured out how to play the guitar and sing, I didn't want to be just another guy in a band in a t-shirt standing on a stage looking sad and just wasting everyone's time and life. And I've seen plenty of those bands. I wanted people to feel entertained. I wanted to be entertained myself by just seeing what would come of the evening. What would happen if I stand on that table doing my guitar solo? Will it fall over? Maybe. And there is, and I like that kind of chaos. I mean, we Magic 8 Ball don't use backing tapes, which a lot of bands do these days.
So that's the other thing I was going to ask you, because as you correctly say, so many people use this whole background. There's backing tape. I mean, do you think the art of live performances are dead?
I don't, because like I said, I am very staunch about it. I've got very good and talented friends who are completely against me on this one. They think it's a good idea, and I respectfully disagree. But I like the fact that for a large part of Magic 8 Ball's time, we've been a 3-piece. And when you've got a 3-piece and one person makes a mistake, you hear that mistake, all right? And it's that genuine feeling of nerves before you go on. Not stage fright, but have we got everything together? Are you good? Do you remember the bit? and it's that chaos, and sometimes the mistake can cause inadvertent hilarity.
That's true.
Or inadvertent brilliance, and I just mean that you I don't know, you miss your cue to start doing your, I don't know, guitar solo, so you come in a tiny bit late and you rush the first couple of notes and it just sounds right, and it's completely exclusive to that audience and that particular version. And I like that. I like people saying, do you remember that time you did that song that we've, probably done 100 times, and you said this or you did that, and it makes it personal to that individual, and I love that. So if they give me enough space on a stage, I will run up and down it. If they give me a microphone, I will holler down it. And if you give me an audience, I will vamp it up.
Now, that's quite interesting you say that. This leads me on to another question. When you see a band live, what do you think makes the perfect band sound? Do you think it's the size of the band that makes it, or is it just the chemistry, or is it a mixture of everything that you see?
I'd like to think the chemistry. I don't like watching big bands, like bands that have got like more than 5 members. Um, I mean, I love Guns N' Roses, okay, but the current lineup of them has 3 guitarists, 2 keyboardists, a drummer, a vocalist. I think there's a bassist, and they're an 8 piece at least. And it's, you don't actually get the clarity over all that music that you did when they were a 5 piece. And I like to hear the nuances of the different instruments rather than just being presented with a wall of noise. And then you get someone who's incredibly talented and he's got a backing band who are incredibly proficient, but they all look like embarrassing uncles.
Keeping it in within the family, technically.
Yeah, and they've got about as much charisma as a goldfish. So, so all eyes are on the lead singer to like be the superstar, and then it kind of plays into this cult of the personality thing. This has got to be the loudest crowd of the tour so far. And that doesn't really interest me. I mean, first and foremost, you've got to have the songs. I mean, you could be the tightest band in the world, but if your songs suck, then it's not going to be entertaining for anyone. And then for me personally, because I know a lot of people like the big fireworks and all that, and a lot of people like pub gigs because they're rootsy and they're earthy. I like someone with natural charisma to just win me over. And I saw this band a few years ago, and they were playing a local festival to me, and I walked in on them once before and just thought, oh, who are they? They're rubbish. I'm going. And I gave them about 10 seconds. And then I was at this festival. I was waiting for Alice Cooper, actually. And I thought, right, I'm going to watch this band and hate them just until Alice Cooper comes on. And they made me smile. They won me over. And they actually, that's one of the great bands that I've left off this list, the list beforehand, sorry. And that band was The Darkness.
Oh, now that's an interesting band in itself.
Yeah, and they were so good. I mean, Justin Hawkins was, he looked like he was having fun. He was genuinely funny as a guy, not like a stand-up comedian, not like a wisecracker, just stupid funny, which is the best type of funny. I'm a Leslie Nielsen fan, so I love daftness, and that was brilliant. And the songs, once I actually gave them a chance, I mean, you take something like Friday Night. I mean, that's just a perfect song. It's magnificent. Or the closer on their second album, which is, it's just beautiful. And they kind of went went a bit off the rails, and